And we are back, ready to go. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Debrina Jackson Gandy, and we are going to be doing another episode of Rapid Fire Relationships Wisdom Served up in here, up in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Tag your friends, ding your friends, ping your friends. Get your relationship questions ready. Get them ready. Get them ready. Let me bring in my hosts to the space. Let me see if I can find lovely faces. Hello, hello.
Hi.
I cannot see you, but I can hear you.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, Elena.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
I can't see you, but
Excellent.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you all see all three of
I
us?
can't see you either, Elena.
Yeah, let me jump back out and come back because we just had a great teaser, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, everyone.
Come on in. Hey, hey. To this episode of Relationships Rapid Fire. I am so tickled that I'm going to be joined tonight by my awesome co-host, who I'm actually going to hand it over to in just a few seconds. I'm just waiting for my other amazing co-host, Elena, to join Vani Love.
Yes.
And we're going to get started. So how you doing tonight, Vani?
I'm feeling really good, really rested, and ready for tonight's conversation. I'm doing really good. Yes.
That rested part. We like that.
Yes. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. Getting ready to go on the road and do some speaking this weekend. One of my favorite things to do on the planet. Go and speak into some beautiful women down in the San Diego Temecula area. So just very excited. Yes. And so really good. Recorded. There's a show here in the Seattle area called Back to Besa. It's like a magazine TV show, and I am delighted to be the recurring relationships guest. So today we take an episode, and it was about Debrina's modern courtship. So I've been all up in the relationships space today.
I love that.
Oh my gosh. It's like a magazine TV show, and I'm delighted to be the recurring relationships guest.
Hey, Sabrina, can you hear me?
Is that Elena?
Yes, that's me. Can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
I'm here. Siobhan, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, I can now hear and see you. Yes.
Oh, perfect. All three of us. All right, great. I'm sorry, Debrina, you want me to see us, but
I can't see you all, but we're all here. So with that, in 1 minute, I'm going to hand it over to you all. So hello, everybody. We're so glad to see you tonight. It's been a minute since I've been with both of my amazing and illustrious co-hosts, Vani Love and Elena. And so I'm so delighted for us to be back tonight for Relationships Rapid Fire. And I got to tell you all, I have a new tagline that just came to me last week. So this is just a few days ago. So here in Rapid Fire, this is where relationships wisdom is served, not more madness. Hey, how about that? And I'm using that on my new YouTube channel as well, my new Love Lab with Debrina. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you all, and I just want you all to know that I want to field as many questions tonight, all those who are viewing, as many questions tonight as possible. And the questions that Vani and Elena have for me, I have not already seen them. So this is off the cuff, off the top of the heart, off the top of the head, and right out of my relationship teaching. So I'm going to turn it over to you all now. Boop. I'll hand it over to Elena or Vani. Take it away.
All right. I'll head us up really quickly.
Yep.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Siobhan. I am a birth and postpartum doula and a wellness coach that supports you spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And I'm super excited to be here. And relationships is one of my favorite topics, and healing what needs to be healed within myself and within the community has been a really pivotal thing for me by being in the presence of Debrina, her teachings, and even her books. Like, I've grown tremendously as a woman. I'm super excited about the relationship I get to nurture and flourish one day because of these principles and teachings. And I'm so excited about what we're going to be getting into tonight. And there's something for everyone: single, married, divorced, even situationships. We're calling you out so that you can get the wisdom and the healing that you need. And I'm going to hand it over to my beautiful co-host, Elena.
Hello. Good evening and good night, maybe to some of you all on the East Coast. It's about 8:30 out there, but again, we are excited to have you all. My name is Elena M. Dillard. I'm a certified and licensed marriage and family therapist. And in addition to just my clinical background, I, like Vonnie Love, my co-host, we have been graduate students and alumni of Debrina and her coursework, from preparation for partnership to Love Academy to all the things that she's doing, because we know, as her new tagline says, and we've experienced fully in our own life, the fruit of the teachings when it comes to really serving up truth and not ongoing madness. There are so many podcasts and TikToks and reels and shorts and things going on out there that we really are here to dispel and demystify the things that really come to long, satisfying, juicy love relationships, as Sabrina talks about it. And I myself, and certainly Vonnie Love as well, have fully experienced it in our exciting single life, as also being pursued by and being courted by and engaging with men, from even platonic relationships to romantic. Here is where you get it when it comes to engaging with men. And even for our brothers that will be joining the line, there's things here for you to better understand women, and for us to really, clean up some of the madness, clean up some of the chaos that's going on, a lot of conflicting information that really is going to, here is where both people, the male and the woman, the male and the female, the man and the woman, are going to be satisfied and moving forward in the process, and not get all wonky in a slippery slope. So I'm excited to be here. Vonnie's going to kick us off with the first question. But again, Debrina, thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and your commitment to saying yes to walking down this lane that, if you were to put in a Google search, 50,000 plus articles and books would come up. But here's where we get the truth, live and in person. So come on, join us and tag your friends, and we're going to get into it.
Woohoo! I'm ready.
Yes. All right. Here's my first question. There's a lot going around on the internet about weaponized incompetence. And women are speaking about it from the sense of they ask their partner to do a thing, and either he does it poorly or he doesn't do it at all, or he's asking us several follow-up questions. Well, what do you want me to do? Well, how do you want me to do it? And women are, I forget the creator who coined the term, but it's called weaponized incompetence. And so I would love to hear how you feel about women when they are saying that men are using weaponized incompetence.
Wow. What a term. Well, first of all, let me rewind a little bit so that we understand how men are made. And men are made to desire to please us. So even the term weaponized incompetence and the word incompetence is against the natural relationship nature of a man. So I already smell a fish. It's fishy. Okay? Now, what I also hear could be going on is that so often when we as women talk to men, we use our familiar, comfortable pattern and structure of interpersonal communication. I have a nickname for that, as you all know. I call it womanese. And oftentimes women are speaking womanese to a man. And if they're not getting the response that they want, they incorrectly and falsely conclude that he's weaponizing incompetence, he's not listening, he doesn't care, he's lazy. And oftentimes all of those are misplaced and wrong. What's happening is she's not speaking manese to him. And how I know that could possibly be the case is you said he comes back with follow-up questions. That's because we think we're being clear. But if we don't communicate with an action very clearly articulated, and we think we are, we speak in concepts, not specific action as women in general. And so if he's asking follow-up questions, it's because he wants to get it right. But what we will tend to do that sabotages us and them is we get frustrated and say, I'll just go ahead and do it myself. So now we're training him on top of we don't speak manese, on top of we don't understand how men are made because they desire to get it right and to fulfill on a task well. When it's a woman they care about, maybe that's missing, a woman they really care about. So we have three strikes here. You don't know how a man is made. You're not speaking manese. And you think you are communicating in action and you're speaking in womanese, which is concepts. The other thing is that one of the new muscles we have to work in the love relationship space is learning how to make requests. Now, depending on the level of the relationship and the designation of the relationship, your requests need to match. So don't make girlfriend requests when you all are still dating multiple people. Don't make wifey level requests if you're a girlfriend. So there's a whole bunch of factors that could be completely out of order and whacked out just by use of that term weaponized incompetence. But it goes against the very grain and nature of how a man is made, especially a black man.
That's so good. That loop needs to be put on PBS on loop all day. So that we can really get it on the inside.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Go for it, Elena.
Love it. Okay, you talked about, I'm going off of what you just said, Darina, about the level of request or the request that you make needs to match the level of designation that you and the other person are involved in. So with that, let's speak to setting boundaries. I know boundaries is not really something that you speak about, but I'm phrasing it in the question that it came to me. And that was, how do you set boundaries in the dating stage, particularly around touch, hand holding, kissing on the first date, those types of things? What are ways to kind of guard yourself or your body or comfortability with someone in the dating stage, open dating stage, around touch specifically?
Yes. So just one correction. It says in the chat, men are made to please us. I said men desire to please us. Men desire to please us. So Dabrina's modern courtship is an alternative to dating as we've been doing it. And one of the things with dating as we've been doing it is physical touch and especially sexual intercourse has been entering way too soon. Especially sexual intercourse. By date 3, my research shows that by date 3, people are screwing, okay, by and large. So how do we manage that energy and how do we navigate so that that isn't happening so soon or at all if you don't desire it? And my modern courtship approach lays all that out. So it creates and establishes that there are levels, or in my book, I actually call it gradations, right? So a first date would be during the day and 60 minutes. So during the day, short, you're not going to tend to, in general, if you're in a public space, have a lot of physical touching. The daylight, the surroundings, all that is helping to mitigate and manage that. Then your second date can also be in the daylight where the sun is up. You are not under the cover of night. And under the cover of night, a whole bunch of different activities go on at night that if it was light, it would never happen. So graduate yourself. Don't go off the deep end and be cover of night, 3-hour date, dinner and a movie, concert. That means the energy units are all out of whack. You want to increase them gradually. So that approach handles a lot of what we often feel is happening too fast. And all that stuff is totally out of order now because um, online dating has really,
Mm-hmm.
really screwed up the graduation process, in terms of getting to know someone. So the short answer is understand that there is a pathway where you can manage that energy, manage physical touch. That's an energy unit. I talk about all the different forms of energy units when you're getting to know someone, when you're engaging, and how to manage the gradual increase of those versus in the deep end of the pool, very first date, at night, dinner, 3-digit bill that someone's
Right.
paying, etc., etc. So,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So if you are at a smoothie shop, right, and it's bright and lit and there's other people there, and you're sitting there, sipping on your smoothies, that space is going to help to mitigate the level of touch. If it's, at night, you are at a concert, it's dark, everybody's smushed together, and it's one of those where you're standing up. Well, then the environment is not supporting managing, call it boundaries, managing the energy. So if folks would just follow the process, it really, really works. I've spoken to hundreds of men, hundreds of women, and it's a win-win. So managing the energy units is more so what I have people put their eye on versus boundaries. And then if you find that you are
Mm-hmm.
going on a date and you all are in different you all are in different places in terms of the level of physical touch, then you got to take a look at the conversations that led to the first date. And where you want to too long. Like a lot of times I'm like, oh my gosh, I was on the phone with him for 2 hours. That's too many energy units. Maybe if he's your boyfriend, maybe. But we just think speaking on the phone a long time is just so cute. But guess what? You're creating a connection. You are building a bank account of more and more energy invested. So if that preceded that first date, we're now like, whoa, he's not honoring my boundaries. He's a little touchy. Then you also just want to also evaluate what the interactions have been like prior to that first date, because the energy units may have been all out of whack and too many of them on the phone making a connection. And then when y'all get together, it's like now he's grabby, grabby, grabby. And it's like, woo,
Right.
stand down, bruh. So all that has to be looked at. But just know that my modern courtship approach is based upon gradually increasing energy units. And one of those is touch. And how do you manage that? And it really, really does work. Another thing is to stay out of your house on dates. Don't be going to his house. He doesn't need to come to your house unless he's at the boyfriend level or unless it is exclusive dating level, which is a jointly understood and agreed to designation. Other than that, be sure you're not having any dates in y'all's homes.
That's so good. I absolutely love it. And as you're talking, I'm just thinking about how it works. It's like, I'm like half the time with my mouth open, like, oh my God, like leaving them wanting more. Like it is real thing. It's a real thing. In one of our last conversations, you spoke about the qualities of a high value man. He has self-control, he has discipline, he's an excellent decision maker. Can you speak to the attributes that a high value woman would have?
Absolutely, because when I am in Mentality, which is my men only love relationships course, I get to share that with them because guess what? In their male love lies conditioning, they are not taught, told, or talking about in the locker room or over card games and dominoes what the qualities of a high value woman are. They talk about a good looking woman, the physical features. So men are lost when I say, well, Braz, tell me the qualities of a high value woman. So we both are operating, both men and women, from all these huge blind spots and gaps and false and bad teachings. And the attention has been on all the things that don't matter the most or do not actually come to bear. So with men, it's self-control, self-discipline, discipline, excellent decision-making, especially if you desire to be a husband, because that is a very important quality to have cultivated, and we can come back to that if you want to know, well, why excellent decision maker, Debrina? Why are you saying that? But in terms of a high value woman, you want a woman who's operating from high level self-love. So not just, a woman who loves herself, because there's levels of self-love. You can have a lower level of self-love and it be fine as a solo single person. It is not sufficient when you now are in partnership. You got to level up your self-love if you desire to be in a healthy, juicy love relationship, and especially covenant marriage. So a woman who's operating from high level self-love, how do you know? You listen to the words she uses and chooses when she speaks. You listen to what her life outlook is. You note how she's relating to her body. Is it body as a thing? Is it body as a divine living temple? What does she say about herself or her body? Is she using words that speak life? Is she operating from a sacred self-caring consciousness, which means not this ripping and running and frenetic rat race and all caught up in the chase pursuit, grab the bag, move 95,000 miles an hour? Is she centered? Is she grounded? Is she connected to her joy, her own inner joy? Because if she's not connected to her own inner joy, then guess what? She'll be looking to you to make her happy, which is part of, I'm looking for someone, he doesn't make me happy. He does make me happy. I want someone to make me happy. That speaks to the love lies. It's not another human's responsibility to make us happy. So the question is, are you connected to your joy? So those are some of the qualities of a high value woman, and a woman who will contribute to you versus subtract from you, because the language and the conversation in so much of the dating space is about subtraction. I want a man who makes six figures. Well, why? So you can subtract his money, called spend it. Tell me how you're going to double it. Stop worrying about his income. Tell me how you can double his income versus wanting to know how many figures. I mean, our emphasis is in all the wrong, twisted, effed up places. So those are some of the qualities of a high value woman. A woman who knows how to make a house, if you're thinking of her as a future wife, which is a distinction and an honor. If you were thinking of future and her as wife, does she know how to make a house a home? A house is the dwelling. A home is the vibration, the aesthetic, the energy, the feel. How about that?
Yeah, so good.
Things that matter most, we are not even discussing. We're talking about money and status and economics, and love relationships are, first of all, spiritual phenomena. So it just shows how confused and twisted we are, given where all the attention is in these conversations. So those are some of the qualities of a high value woman.
So good. Thank you.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you, Debrina, on those some of the qualities of high value women. I'm switching gears a little bit. This question came in from Mayo.
Is this one from the chat, from the post tonight?
This one?
The one you're about to ask, is it from the viewers tonight?
Actually, it was from the viewers last time we did rapid fire. It just never made it to the scene. So here it is. This came from a married man of a large family. He says, intimacy can be hard to cultivate when you have kids, work, and a full life of responsibilities. What are your thoughts on a lack of intimacy in long-term relationships? How do I bring intimacy back into my marriage?
Yeah. Well, one of the challenges when you are the man in the relationship is that the way we women have been managing our energy or not, and letting our children absorb way too much of our energy and our time, and we don't save precious sacred time for our covenant relationship. So a man can do things like planning a date and arranging childcare, right? Those are kind of external things he can do. But there's also a major shift internally and in terms of our thinking, our mindset, and our beliefs that needs to happen among women, especially in the United States, because what happens, why so many mothers are tired and not interested in sex and their sexual energy is low, is because we are out of whack in managing our energy. We give way too much and all of it to the job and way too much to the kids. And then our covenant marriage gets the leftovers. That's totally out of order. So we get to learn how to better manage our energy, refortify and renew our spirit, practice sacred self-care, body's divine living temple, be connected to our joy, all the things that support us in staying juicy and not depleted and worn out and tapped out. And then, and even, women will often say, I want more help, but we have the overdosing syndrome, overwhelming, overdoing, over controlling. And so we have unintentionally, unconsciously edged our husbands out of being more participative because we're doing too much and taking up too much space. So there's a lot of shifts that have to happen for us to come back into balance in our marriages, because really we're not to let anything come between the husband and wife. And we let kids come between, we let in-laws come between, we let finances come between. Those are all out of order. And so even the kids are to be fortified and nourished by the stability and the strength of the love of the mom and dad in the home. And so when women's going directly to the kids and giving all this energy and time, and her marriage is now thirsty, needing nourishment and watering, that's a very imbalanced situation. And there's other things that can start to happen as a result of that. So for now, what that husband can do, bless his heart, is plan a date outside the home and arrange the child care and allow her to focus on getting ready for the date. And if the babysitter needs to be picked up or the kids need to be taken to the babysitter or whatever the arrangements are, he handle it. So she's freed up from the logistics of having the date work. Handle it all, A to Z. And then also, I think married couples, we need to have more rituals that connect our hearts, connect our spirits, that keep giving us insight into one another. There's this age-old, simple little ritual called pillow talk, right? Pillow talk means you get into bed at the same time. And while you're laying on your pillows, cuddled up, facing each other, eyeball to eyeball, on your pillows, you're having conversation. We're not having pillow talk anymore because one part to bed at 11, the next one is going to bed at 12:30, 1 a.m. Might not even be sleeping in the same bed. You know what I'm saying? When you get in bed, you worn out. And so the little thing to bring reconnection back to a husband and wife are where we can begin. But for that wonderful husband, plan a date and handle all the logistics of the child care. And your wife, free her up to just get ready and be beautiful and present for you on your all's date. And have a date night. So is it third Fridays? Is it fourth Sundays? Have a date night. Don't miss intermittent. Have a date night.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Some spouses sleep in different rooms. You can still have pillow talk, baby. You can still have pillow talk. Pillow talk, you're better mind tonight, honey. You can still have pillow talks. And because you sleep in separate rooms, doesn't mean there's less intimacy. It actually can increase the electromagnetic attraction. But I'm talking about pillow talk in one of y'all's beds if you sleep in separate rooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I love that. All right, so I know you were speaking a bit to women being frustrated, and it made me think about the 4B movement, which is the feminist movement that's in Korea, where women are taking a stance to not give sex, childbearing, dating, or marriage to men. And I know that the
What?
Yeah, and and they're and it's actually working. It started maybe, I think, I don't judge me by the dates. I think it happened either between 2016 and 2019. They just came out with reports saying that over 150 schools have no first graders now because women are not bearing the children anymore in Korea.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
North Korea or South Korea?
It's South Korea. And it started in 2019.
I did not know about this. So
Yes.
that is a major protest.
And so I've been seeing a lot on TikTok that a lot of American women are so frustrated that they want to adopt that. And so I would like to hear your thoughts about how women in the Western culture or America, especially with the feminist movement that never really included Black women in the first place, where should we start in in the sense of how the South Korean women are doing? Like, how can we do it? Because I hear a lot of women speak about it, but it's like with this resentment towards men. And I'm like, that's not going to work, really. Like, I can understand you taking a stand, but where's the healing behind the scene so that we can come together? And I just want to hear your thoughts about that and how a lot of women are trying to bring that movement to America.
Wow. Well, I wasn't familiar with the 4B movement. Did it explain what the causative factors are of that major protest move, which the 4Bs represent? Did it, just so I can have a little bit more insight?
So it's because they're tired of being treated like secondhand citizens as women. And this has been happening for at least a few decades, from my understanding. And they just started in 2019, like no more.
Yeah. So what we got to understand is that couple things. One is that when you study the divine design of, for example, covenant marriage in scripture, it is a freedom-based model. Why do so many of us, and I'll use the 3Bs, feel bound, burdened, and bothered, bound, burdened, and in bondage? Because we're not following the divine design of marriage. We're following a religious model, a pulpit spoken model, or what we see modeled. But the divine design is really a freedom model. Why is that? Because the maker of man, who understands the character, essence, and spirit of man, and the maker of woman, who understands the character, essence, and spirit of woman, designed a unique relationship among all human relationships, a covenant relationship, not a contractual relationship, a covenant relationship.
Yes.
And even the 11 divine assignments or divine functions that are part of the design of covenant marriage, there's a certain number of those functions for man, for husband, and a certain number of those functions for wife. And when you look at those functions, they are directly tied to what requires that we grow in covenant marriage.
Not roles, right? Doreen, I want to slow you down. Not roles, right? I hear roles a lot. You said function. Let me, for those that are viewing right now, clarifying that Debrina is talking about function. So I just want to speak to that function, not roles. Roles.
But the reason I don't use the word roles is the divine design of marriage, I'm not the author of. The maker of me is the author of it. And when I look to where the divine design is laid out in scripture, there's no mention of the word role at all anywhere. But what's happened is as it's gotten diluted and misrepresented and corrupted and polluted, when it comes across the pulpit, particularly in churches, the word role now enters in. Roles are for theater parts. Roles are for movie actors.
Yes.
Roles are for movie actors. So, and they're limiting, because if I'm playing the role of the mother, I can't step out of my role and act like the teenage daughter. My role is very defined and prescribed. So by design, roles are the death of juiciness in a marriage. So it doesn't, scripture doesn't talk about roles. So that's why I don't talk about roles. So, but I needed a term that could be used, because that's so much of how our programming is. Okay, well, what do you have? Well, there's actually 11 divine assignments, I call them, and functions. Function means a way of operating, right? A way of engaging and relating. And so, when you understand that divine design, you know that it is designed for freedom and growth. So that lets us know that whatever is going on in our marriages and our various cultures, we're seeing subordination, suppression, and subjugation. There's 3 S's. And so the South Korean women are using abstain, protest as a way to bring about change. But as we also have to understand, as Black women, historically, given our village cultural basis, and that a lot of us come from in the continent of Africa, a lot of matrilineal lines, we have historically not had power struggles between Black men and Black women. Historically, we've been a united front against oppression, racism, and inhumanity in this country. So we have to also understand that our dynamics are not the same as just other men and women in general or in other countries, because we have to understand our origin and history. And Black men, by and large, have understood the power of Black women and have not had a problem with it because they understood our design. Now, lately, in the last few decades, it's become a problem because it's got overly masculinized. So that's the problem, not our power. Because Black men love our power. They know we're powerful. And that's why we've been powerful together, not power over, which has been the reality in a lot of other man-woman dynamics in other cultures, ethnicities, or countries. So, and I'm speaking here in the U.S. I'm not speaking in other countries. So we have to be careful of what we take on and mimic. The larger Western American culture, which is not a melanin honoring ideology, let me say that. So we have to be careful as melanated women about taking up the baton, because they're doing it in other countries, especially as melanated women, because we are, I think, some of the most powerful women on planet Earth.
Yes.
Because of that melanin and the powers it has, and some other stuff. But I think we want to be very careful, because now they have systems that are collapsing because they are not perpetuating their ethnicity, like no first graders. So the implications for that are scary and huge, because that also means there won't be a workforce in a certain number of decades. There won't be a workforce. There won't be a workforce. The old people will die, and there's no new workforce, because and you can look it right back to the point of the protest starting. Now, what I hope happens is that it wakes the South Korean men up, that it brings change about rapidly, that they start to recognize the influence and power of South Korean women in that culture. And this does not have to continue as a way to be experienced equal honoring of each other. Hopefully this is just a strategy, a tactic, right? That's a wake-up call, water in the face. It should not be permanent, because what I want us to be able to experience is honoring the gifts, talents, skills, abilities of woman, honoring the gifts, talents, skills, abilities, uniquenesses of man, and us being able to coexist in that versus creating hierarchies which are man-made. We are different. Men and women are different. We are different, wonderfully so. And so we haven't yet come into in recent modern history, as we've gotten more technologized and as women have entered into the workplace, it's created more breakdown, schisms, instead of understanding how we can continue to mutually honor each other and live in full self-expression together in love or marriage or whatever we're choosing. So it really shows the growth that is still there to have. But I do not think that's the answer, especially here in America, where women have some of the most extensive women's rights than most countries on the face of the earth. I don't think that's the solution in general for us, and especially not Black women.
I agree.
That's fascinating, though. I didn't even know this was happening
Yes.
in South Korea. Wow. Woo!
Thank you for that feedback. It was really good.
Excellent. Yeah, there's been some chatter in the chat about the 4B movement and how it's kind of catching wave here, and there's been some YouTube conversations about it. So thank you, Debrina, for addressing it here in this space on love relationships and
have a gender civil war.
Oh goodness.
That's what created the gender civil war. We need some other solutions. And see what's happening too is we have been doing too much as women.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, I want us to learn how to relinquish, stop being so controlling of everything so that men can more fully contribute to the kids, to the child raising, et cetera, et cetera. And I see a lot of room for a lot more allowance of men participating. The stories I hear about women who might get divorced or were never married to the father of their kids, and they're raising the kids almost 100%. I said, why do you not have a co-parenting arrangement? Oh, I don't trust him with. Well, hold up. You made the kids together. You were with him for 3 years. You were married to him for 13 years or 21 years. Now, all of a sudden, you can't extend trust to him to help raise the kids he created? So the mindsets and the rationales that have us doing too much, having to take too much on, having too much on our shoulders, it is so twisted. So there's a major shift needed in us as women as well.
I agree.
Okay.
All right, go for it, Elena.
Okay, Debrina, I have a question coming up because I very much have had conversations off the grid about this very thing about co-parenting. So while we're on the topic,
Okay.
And being in Washington State, and every state kind of varies differently, but when it comes to child support and custody, thoughts around a woman putting the father of their children on child support, especially after the relationship dissolves and there's some other dynamics that is necessary for them to be able to care for the child.
Yeah. Well, I think it's unfortunate if the relationship between, because it usually is a deterioration of the relationship between the man and the woman that needs child support, for child support to have to be enforced.
Mm-hmm.
It's not usually because the man just straight out doesn't give a damn about his kids. And so, but we also have to look at who we are creating babies with.
Yes.
And how is it that we are creating babies with, or the relationship is deteriorating so far that we have to put them on child support? That is almost an indictment of sorts. And as women, we have to think beyond the moment our legs are open, because we have the uterus in our bodies. Even if he takes off, we have the uterus in our bodies. We are the first home of a child. And I think a lot of us are thinking about the pleasure in the moment. And we're not thinking, hold up, if this is an oops, in those kind of situations, and I'm not talking in marriage, but if this is an oops, I'm going to be forever connected to this dude, because we're going to have created a whole soul together. We're not often thinking beyond the moment and the heat and the breathing and the passion. And so, and then when we are talking about married folks who are having to put a husband on child support, it's usually because there's dynamics that have been going on a long time that finally blew up, and he often feels disconnected. If he didn't disconnect himself, but he may feel disconnected, and it wasn't his own doing. It was that, we unconsciously start to do too much, overdo, don't ask for help well, don't allow and yield to help, don't make space for the help. So over time, a father can start to feel disconnected from his kid. So that's a kind of a very complex situation, but the bottom line is, even before I went for child support, if I was in that situation, I would go for time.
Yes.
Even before, because dollars, time is almost as precious or more precious.
Mm-hmm.
So before I go for child support, which is important, I'm like, hey, let's set up 50-50 time, because we co-created these kids together. And what is the arrangement where that can happen? So you both, so you're not having all the burden on you of time with kids. And I see that too. And it's like, what? But child support, financial, is a form of support, but time with the kids, to me, that's even more critical, because when they're with him, he's financing them, he's funding them, he's taking care of the dollars. If they're with you primarily, right, then you got to go get child support, because they're not residing with him for a balance of time. So now you have to pursue child support. So you see what I'm saying? You see how it's this convoluted, complex circle. If they're with him every other week, not weekend, every other week as an example, then for that whole 7 days, whatever their costs and expenses and registrations and shoes and food and whatever else, they're residing with you, the other parent, right now. So you finance and fund that. Then when they come back with me for the 7 days, then so just the arrangement of time handles a lot of stuff. But so many of us got the kids with us. They're my kids, and I don't trust him, and then we got to pursue the child support, and then that might be the only thing we have. Change that time arrangement as well.
So good. So good. All right. I have 2 questions, and I would like for you to choose which one you would like to answer. It's one asked by men, and then one maybe asked by women.
Okay.
And I'll start with the one asked by men. Knowing that there are other men she is dating, how does a man differentiate himself from other men? That's for the men. For the women, how, as a single woman, can we keep the romance in our lives alive?
So let's start with the first one. That's a yummy one. Well, the truth of the matter is the man could also be dating other women at the same time the woman's dating other men. But the question is for both of them, how do I differentiate myself, right? So for men, it's a little different than my answer would be for a woman if she was asking that question. So I would say for a man, pay close attention to what are her passions, what are her likes, which is different than just, something like, oh, where do you want to go for dinner, right? That might tell you the food she might like, but like paying close attention to her likes, her passions, those nuances that most men would miss. Listen to her comments. And then when you are choosing a place to go or activities to do, then you are clocking into those subtleties that you are picking up and noticing. So, for example, I've written 3 books. So let's say I was back in the dating space. If a man was really smart, he would get Sabrina's books. He would go order those books and say, let's see what this woman wrote. And he would know that this whole sacred self-care movement and body temple and managing your energy and having a full spirit, connecting to God, all those things are things that are of high value to me. And so he might, and he knows that I love lattes and I love fruity flavored teas. So then we have a date and he might bring me a big, beautiful coffee cup, right? He doesn't have to bring me jewelry and, a big, beautiful coffee cup, because he's paying close attention. And that's not a gift that has to be a lot of dollars, right? The more dollars, save that for different levels of the relationship. But if we just started dating, to give me a coffee cup is not too intimate and personal, and it's not too pricey. So it's appropriate for where we are in our relationship. Or he might ask me, what is something you love to do you haven't done in a long time, right? Well, guess what Dabrina's going to say? Roller skate.
Yes, yes.
So now, on the day, instead of trying to take me up to, some expensive restaurant,
Right.
say, I call to find out what time the roller skate rink is open, and it's adult skate. Would you like to go roller skating? What am I going to say? Oh my God, how'd you know? Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And so other dude takes me, one of the other guys I'm dating takes me to the expensive restaurant to try to impress me. But oh boy, took me roller skating for date number 2. Oh my goodness, right? So just paying close attention and even asking questions, what's something you would love to do you haven't done in a while? That's a nice, innocent, light question, but it can reveal all kinds of insights.
Yes.
So then the other question had to do, you said single woman and romance. Say the second
Yes.
question for me again.
I did say the second one was how, as a woman, can we keep the
Single
romance
woman.
alive? Yes, but I
You
would
said,
also, well, all women really, but I would really like to know the opposite end of the same question for a woman. How can a woman set herself apart if the gentleman is dating multiple women, or would she use the same strategies of paying close attention and things of that sort?
okay, so remember that second question, because I do want to
Okay.
answer the one you said. You said single women. How does the single woman keep the romance alive? If I heard you correctly, it wasn't just women. Wasn't it single women?
It was single women, but I
Okay.
think that's a healthy question for all women too, really.
Okay. So I will start with single women
Okay.
because a lot of times we have visions of wanting to be romanced, right? And really, romance is what appeals to the feminine senses, the feminine body, the feminine spirit. That's what romance is when you really break it down. Sense, colors, tastes, ambiance, aesthetic, music, lighting, all those things are what directly appeal to and feed the feminine spirit. Okay? That's AKA is called romance. So now when you get into a relationship, a love relationship, then what do we desire to be? Romance. But guess what? We don't need it to be done by an external second party. So what I would say to single women is right now, because you are in a love relationship with yourself. That's your first human relationship. The one with you that's always been with you and always will be. So are you romancing yourself? Not because you're saying, I don't need a man to romance me. I'm doing it myself. Not that funky stank position.
Yeah.
I'm talking about becoming accustomed to the aliveness that comes from being romanced and senses being nourished and senses being fed and being able to stay in your feminine energy center. So are you romancing yourself? And then when another shows up outside of you, instead of you being romance deprived, and jumping on them like, good God, woman, we all damn thirsty, right? We're not romance deprived because we've been romancing ourselves.
Yes.
And he is just adding to the party. That's not what most single women are doing. They're waiting until, come on, somebody, wait till. And that's the old model. Romance yourself.
I love it.
Yes. And so then when it comes to how can a woman stand out apart from the other women a man may be dating, right? Follow Dabrina's Modern Courtship for one, which is based on knowing how to be a great date. When I was on the Besa Gordon show today, she slipped up and said, good date. I said, no. Dabrina doesn't talk about being a good date. Most women know how to be a good date. That's not my bar. My bar is knowing how to be a great date. Yeah. And the word great is relevant to the man's experience of you while he was with you. So if I was wanting to find out if you were a great date, I'm not going to ask you, because women will always say, I'm a great date. Yes, I think I was a great date. It's amazing how we always give ourselves the great rating. The person I would need to ask is the one whose company you were with. Tell me, how was she? Was it it's all right. Well, all right. She was a great date. We have a gap. We have a problem.
Houston, we have a problem.
So that's a whole nother conversation, being a great date. But part of Debrina's modern courtship is even coming to the interaction and engagement with men from a completely different premise. Not to judge, not to assess, because that's how it is right now, the old dating model that is destroying relationships or preventing them from even happening and occurring. It's a judge and assess model. And we say we're trying to get to know him, but that's not what's really happening. We're asking him very specific questions that commoditize him, where we are judging and assessing him. We are evaluating and scorecarding in our minds. It is not really to get to know him. If it was, the questions that we ask would be completely different. And we would come to the interactions with an attitude and a disposition of being fascinated, which is not how we're coming. When you come being fascinated, you come with curiosity. You come with wonder. There's no wrong answer. It's just data. But in the old dating model, the one we're still doing right now, we're asking questions and we're scorecarding the man in our mind. We are judging him. It isn't just data. When you come with fascination, you are just in curiosity about it. You lean in, your eyes are big, you're paying attention, you have follow-up questions, you are intrigued, you're leaning in, and it's not because you feeling him and liking him that way. It's just a disposition to have on a date in general, even if it's the only one you have with said man. Okay, so then so that alone takes care of a lot. Coming with the attitude of fascination, coming with your feminine light on, your radiance, that luminosity that we can generate when we're connected to our joy. Men are not able to readily create radiance the same way we're able to. So when our light is out, when we haven't learned how to activate that inner luminosity so that it extends outward, then that's soul food for a man. So his soul craves our radiance because they can't generate it as readily. So that's one of the characteristics of being a great date, is your radiance is on.
Yes.
And before you're in the company of that man, you are in a place of radiance on. You know how to get it on. You know what turns it on. You know what keeps it on, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so then the final question was about, I think, was it about married women? What was the final question you had?
It was about the romance, and you did answer it from the angle of single women, but you were going to answer it from the angle of how married women can keep the romance alive.
Well, first and foremost, a wife needs to stay juicy. First and foremost.
Let's go.
Whether she gets kids or not, most of us get dried out and depleted because of how we're not managing our energy once we have kids, plus all the other stuff we're doing too much of and overdoing. So one of the things that's so beautiful about the solo single phase of our journeys is it's an opportunity to learn how to romance ourselves, learn how what appeals to our feminine senses, our feminine spirit, our feminine essence, and your unique feminine spirit and essence. That's self-intimacy. Then to understand how to manage your energy in a way that you stay juicy and vitalized and luminous. And that's something you want to master even before you're joined in marriage, because you need to bring that to the marriage and have worked that muscle already and have a little mastery in it when you come into being joined in covenant marriage. And so many women, because of the fantasies, the female love lies, the falsehoods, we are holding our till we get married. Instead of, let me cultivate some specific aspects of myself so I can be a juicy wife and contribute to a juicy covenant marriage. And so I think married women should be the freest, sexiest,
Yes.
juiciest, finest women on the planet, in my estimation. So, but that we often see, especially married women with kids, we worn out, we depleted, we looking a little raggedy taggedy, look like we rushed to get ready, and we have some things we need to absolutely change. These models and modes and patterns that have characterized how we've been dating and how we've been doing marriage in this culture, we need a complete reboot here in America. We have the worst outcomes. We need a complete reboot, and I am bringing the truth and the wisdom of a new model that's based in some spiritual principles which transcend just the culture's hot trends.
So good. Yummy, yummy.
Woo!
It
Do we
always feels like soul food for my soul.
all these viewers? Do we have questions from our viewers tonight? I just want to say it's romancing yourself, not romanizing. Somebody put romanizing in the post. It's romancing, just so you get the right word, romancing yourself. All right.
There's a comment about when we are on the topic of functions and roles and assignments and just some, you said roles are for theater, roles are for actors, and it's limiting and it's contracting and binding. So one of our viewers had called that out and pointed that out, and some other folks are just thinking aloud in our chat. So we appreciate it. Again, we want to hear your questions. So put your questions in the chat. We have a barrage of what looks to be males and females, men and women joining the conversation. So that is so excellent. That's so great.
I love it. And also roles are prescribed and limiting. That's the other thing. Yeah. So as soon as I hear in church the role of husband or the role of wife, I cringe. It's not even in scripture. So Christian marriages have the same 51% divorce rate. So not 1% better than the rest of the culture. And the rest of the culture in America has the worst outcomes globally. And it spiked during COVID, another 34%. It's a freaking mess. So Christian marriages are not faring any better. Why is that? Is it because God bamboozled us? Is it God tricked us? God set us up for failure? No, we are not understanding the divine design. We're going off of the pulpit or someone else's incorrect and inaccurate interpretation to us. We never did our own research. We never knew what the truth was. We never studied it. You would never take a job and not know what you're signing up for. And I've tested it out in my Covenant Academy with all married Christian couples in the house, in the space. I'm like, okay, so roles is not even in scripture. So, but there are some assignments of wife and of husband. So do you all know what they are? Wives, let me start with you. Okay, you guys got to F. Husbands, let me start with you. And let me give you the freebie. Let me give you the freebie, because every preacher will always say headship, headship, headship. So let me give that one to you as a freebie, though you don't know what it looks like in practice and demonstration, but that's going to be the freebie. What are the other ones? And they hem and haw, fumble, mumble, stumble. Both women and both men. The women, the one I give them that's the freebie, the one they only hear in church is submit. I said, you don't even know what it looks like in practice and demonstration and in your daily interaction with your husband, but I'm going to give that one to you as your free bonus. What are the other ones? Fumble, mumble, stumble. We're a mess. It's a mess.
Yes.
And Christian marriages are too. So nobody is exempt from the pollution and the confusion. But that's why a major renaissance is needed.
Yes.
It's happening. Yeah. It's coming.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
Well, I just want to put a plug in for those that are still joining us. We see you in the chat. We see you joining our live. And again, we are here with nationally best-selling author Debrina Jackson Gandy, love expert, transformational coach, and a host of other things. CEO, founder of Love Academy, Preparation for Partnership, Covenant Academy, all the things that she is known for. And we are excited. Vonnie Love, Siobhan, and I are just excited to be able to interview her with these rapid fire questions regarding all things love relationships. So again, we are going to be here for a few more moments. We want some of those powerful questions coming in that you all are experiencing either in your guy groups or at work and your coworkers, your friends, your family, even in your personal life. We love to hear about what's happening live on the front lines to really do some lightning responsiveness right now from Debrina. So we're going to keep it going. I'm going to shift and pivot a little bit to the conflict. The conflict when couples are rubbing against one another, we're really not seeing eye to eye. So one of the questions that came in, I received in my own network was, is arguing a sign that the relationship is over? And then I added to that how to recover after an argument, how to maybe effectively apologize, or how to recover after an argument.
Yeah. So arguing isn't automatically a sign that the relationship is over, even if it's happening a lot. It usually means that you all are not really hearing each other, but you have defaulted into kind of asserting your perspective, position, feelings about it. The other thing that's really interesting is when, especially married couples say, like the one will often be the one to say, we need to talk, right?
Right.
4 words that men hate hearing. Why do they hate hearing it? Because it's not a conversation. It's not a listening and sharing. It's usually something has upset the woman and she now is blasting the man about it. It's not a conversation. It's a monologue. It's not a conversation. It is her verbally expressing her frustration, discontent, or the offense she felt. And whatever the man is saying, she's over talking him, she's invalidating it, and she's not really listening, because one of the ways that we process emotions and get them out of our bodies as women is through the mouth. So a lot of what we're calling conversation isn't conversation. And the reason it becomes an argument is because he might be trying to share his perspective or what he was thinking, and she's getting the emotional stuff out. And so it keeps escalating up to louder voices, more energy, and now it's become an argument. And if you were to take them both into separate rooms and say to the man, now what was she trying to tell you? He would be confounded in most cases because she was using womanese when she communicated to him. He knows she was upset. He knows he effed up, but in trying to get clear about what exactly, he might not even be clear. Then you go to the woman, take her in a separate room and say, so what was his response to you? I don't know. Because she's so a lot of arguments are because of that cycle going around and around and around again, or having other unexpressed frustrations that then when they come to a conversation, it quickly goes from conversation to argument because there's other energies from other frustrations that are there simmering below the surface, actually surging like lava up to kind of infect the current conversation space. So a lot of arguments going on. There's probably a lot of that going on. Or the womanese, manese thing, or it's a monologue, not a conversation. Or if there's a lot of arguments, it also can indicate that your old unhealed patterns or wounds keep being activated. Those of us have done no healing in preparation for being in covenant marriage. We got married because we liked each other, the chemistry was good, we had some similar values, and then we got married. We did not up-level our communication. As a woman, learn to speak manese. We didn't up-level our level of self-love, or for men, self-discipline, self-control, mental discipline. We didn't do any healing work. We just planned a wedding and get married because we digging each other and got some shared values or whatever. I mean, it's just crazy. All of the things that would equip you for a spiritual union, we're doing none of it. So a lot of arguments are the pushing of buttons of unhealed wounds that you're brought into the marriage with you. But you will think it's the other because in the moment it looks like it's him or it looks like it's her. So I mean, I had a couple. I was on a YouTube broadcast as the relationship expert, and they have this particular YouTube broadcast had a lot of international people on it as well. And so there was this couple, this black couple from London that sought me out after seeing me on this broadcast. And they had been having very intense arguments and fallouts and fights, and husband leaving the house, 5 times over 8 months, and just all kinds of things. And as I was with them for only 30 minutes, I could tell that there was unhealed wounds he had with his mother and unhealed wounds she had with her father. And they both were playing it out in their marriage. And that's just 30 minutes. I'm not a therapist working with them for 9 sessions, or, you know what I'm saying? And so part of the prescription for them as a transformational coach is we have got to do some healing work.
Mm-hmm.
You have some serious anger and animosity towards your mama, and your wife keeps triggering it. You have some unexpressed emotion and uncommunicated stuff towards your dad that you stuffed year after year after year after year. Didn't feel heard, didn't feel da-da-da. And your husband is now the representation of that, and he keeps hot buttoning, pushing the buttons that you brought in from your unhealed relationship with your dad. Now, that's not the case with every couple, but if the arguments keep happening and they're pretty intense, then it's usually some unhealed areas and some what I call emotional bruises that the other keeps poking.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
I know that we're close to our time. We're actually over our time, but I mean, I could keep the questions coming. I got a list here.
Are we were we to go to 6:30 Pacific or 7? Can y'all remind me what was the time?
I thought I
don't think we decided, but yeah. Go ahead, Bonnie.
No, I thought we would usually do 1 hour, but I'm sure it's open. The floor.
Well, we can do one more question. We still got some folks. Yeah, we can do one more question. Then there's just a few announcements I want to make because I'm not about just the one and done rapid fire, right? This is a movement we're trying to start to bring sanity, wisdom, and truth back to love relationships and reopen hearts. And so I got resources. So folks that are serious and ready to come out of the madness and out of the lies and out of the pathological failed model that we were born into in the United States, and you want to come into a model based in spirit and truth and wisdom and healing and love,
freedom,
and self-expression and freedom and deep connection, that's in this camp over here, right here on this IG Live. So I just want to give people resources too. So go ahead, let's do another 1 or maybe 2 questions. Would love to get some from the viewers. Y'all got some questions?
Come on.
Yes, we're taking questions from you guys. Absolutely. All right, so I still have 2 questions. I think I have one that kind of partners with what you were speaking to previously, and that is, how do you effectively apologize to your partner? And then I was thinking about a TikTok that I've seen where this gentleman pops on the screen and he's like, women, if you don't realize this now, you're only good between 18 to 30. After that, you're half off. And then like the video shuts off. And so I would like for you to speak to that mindset.
What was he referring to?
Just our youth. Women who are between 18 and 30 are more valuable than women that are 30 and older. And he proceeded to say that women that are 30 and older are half off, and we need to, air quote, get with the program, so to speak.
Interesting.
Oh my goodness. That is so scary.
Yeah.
Because what he's referring to is eggs in your ovaries and nothing else. Mm-hmm. And if eggs in your ovaries is what makes for a juicy covenant marriage, or makes, and if he's talking that way, he is talking about childbearing. And those those ages don't apply to African American women, by the way. Those studies are done on Caucasian women with Caucasian bodies, different bodies than black bodies. And there's so much more than eggs and ovaries and pop a baby out from between your legs that makes for a juicy marriage.
Yes.
So he's reduced it down to childbearing, eggs and ovaries. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Woo. So, my. So, what was the
other question? How do you effectively apologize to your partner?
Yes. So, first of all, apology is not happening anywhere near as often as it needs to be. How do I know? And it's not happening enough from women because we often feel we are right in the relationship space. We are right. I do know best, right? These are the falsehoods we operate from. So when you're operating from that, you have a harder time apologizing. So when I'm in my mentality, men only class, I ask the men, I poll the men. I don't just be making stuff up in my teachings. I poll, I test it, I try it out. I check with folks, I do research. So I have said in mentality after mentality, gentlemen, when is the last time you got an apology? And they look up and to the left, which is where you're going back in your mental archive trying to recall something. They look up and to the left. They cannot recall in recent history when they received an apology or past history, because by and large, apologies are not happening from their wives. How do I know that it's major? Because there have been wives I have had in Love Academy, and they will give me a scenario and I'll say, honey, oh my goodness, you need to go home after today and you need to apologize to your husband. And they will follow up with me. Oh my God, Sabrina, I apologize to my husband. You would have thought, oh my God, I mean, he was so happy. He was so excited. He was so delighted. Why? Because there's not been apologies happening appropriately. So, it doesn't have to be elaborate. A lot of times we say, this is the way it needs to be done. This is how it needs to happen. And then something happens and we realize there was a different or better way to do it that the husband suggested. And instead of saying, you know, honey, you were right. Just that alone will go a long way. And it's not even just acknowledging you were right. You made the right call. You don't even have to say I was wrong. Just you were right. You were on point. We're not even doing that. And so, but that also speaks to how imbalanced most marriages are, because we're not operating as partners. We're operating too often as women, as wives, as dictators. Hello? We're not operating as partners. We're not equally valuing the perspective of our husbands. We aren't consulting. We are telling. We're not consulting. Those are all characteristics of operating in partnership. We're not even, that's why preparation for partnership now attracts married women. Just because you're married does not mean you know how to be in partnership and operate as partners. So, so there's not enough apology happening in love relationships. There's not enough apology happening in marriages. And because the wife is programmed to think in the relationship space with the kids, she knows what's right. She knows what's best. It's her way. Her way's the best way. That is an unspoken faulty belief. It shows up in our behavior, the overdoing, being overly controlling. We have a lot more room to improve on just saying, you know what, honey, you were right. Just that. Let's start there. Because most of us, we're really poor at apologizing well. Yeah. So if we can just start with, honey, you were right. Just that acknowledgement. Then apology is where you are acknowledging the hurt or harm or offense that you may have caused another person. And it doesn't mean it was on purpose, but there was still something involving you and something involving them, and the residue was an offense or hurt or harm. Yeah. And so an apology is to acknowledge, it's not saying I'm guilty, it's not saying I was malicious in my, it's just saying, oh my goodness, there's something I did that had an effect on you, and because I love you, because I care about you, I want you to know I'm recognizing that. That's really what an apology is. And so many people, they think it's a confession of guilt or you're wrong. Like, where did you get that from? So, well, we got it from a lot of twisted places, actually. So if we could just start with, you were right, and we just start there, because to be able to recognize the offense or the harm that you may have caused someone else, your ego's got to be out of the way. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff needs to be in place just to apologize effectively. And we're such an ego steeped culture that most of us, there's a lot of improvement needed just so we can apologize well and acknowledge the emotions we may have, the hurt, harm, emotions, the offense that we may have been a part in causing, intentionally or unintentionally, usually unintentionally. Yeah. So yeah, if we can just start with, you know what, you were right.
That's so good.
Square one. And I want the ladies to start. Because men respond to us, then you will also see them more readily apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. I've had a marvelous night.
So let me just share a few final things, yes, because I'm not about one and done, and we will be back, right, ladies, with another rapid fire.
Yes.
In a couple weeks.
Yep.
Yes. We're gonna keep it going. I just love this. I just love that you all are so good at this. So let me share some resources, y'all.
Great.
So the new paperback, it wasn't hardback until recently. The new paperback of The Love Lies. You can go to, if you all could put this in my in the chat, milliondollarmentor.net/shop. I have all kinds of marvelous and amazing resources. I have my Love Lies book. I have All the Joy You Can Stand. I have Sacred Pampering Principles. For those who really want to take their level of self-love higher. I have my Life Lab membership. If y'all would put my website in there, because everything is found at Debrina Grand Central, which is milliondollarmentor.net. Life Lab, where I talk with women and teach, mentor, and coach women on how to increase their levels of self-love, to treat and engage with their body as a living temple, to understand what fills and feeds your spirit, how to live as a sacred, self-caring woman. All of that you can find at Million Dollar Mentor. So if you all could just put the website address in there too, just the straight naked website address, so that they can see right when they go to the home page that you can sign up for Life Lab. The books. I also have an audio program for women who want to learn how to speak manese. It's called How Men Tick. So not only how to speak manese to men, but understanding more about the spirit of a man. We don't understand the spirit of a man. That's why that question about weaponizing incompetence that someone else was using in their broadcast, that person doesn't understand the spirit of a man. Mm-hmm. Most of us don't, and we do things that frustrate that spirit. And because men don't understand the spirit of a woman, they unintentionally frustrate our spirit. So we need our IQ to go up, how men tick. And for women, for men, I share how women tick, right? I got to share the opposite, how men tick to the women, how women tick to the men. So I have a training program, audio training program, How Men Tick. If you want to understand some of the falsehoods that we've been fed and conditioned and infected with, and how I'm offering an antidote to all that, I have an audio program called The Cure. So all kinds of awesome resources that are available on my website. And last but not least, the piece de resistance, my brand new Love Lab with Debrina YouTube channel. Love Lab with Debrina. And one of the things I'm real excited about is, you know how we can go to YouTube and, you know, we can pull up playlists by, you know, Maxwell or Jill Scott. Well, I created a specially curated playlist by a award-winning artist. And it's instrumental. It's instrumental because, you know, sometimes we just want to groove. We don't need the words.
Yep.
Right? We just want the pure music while we sipping our wine or kicking our feet up or, you know, cozying up with our boo or whatever. And so I want you all to go to the Love Lab with Debrina on YouTube and subscribe. And also click the notifications bell because I want to let you know when the playlist is about to drop, called the Love Lab Groove Lounge. Woo-hoo!
Yes.
Coming soon.
Yes. So subscribe so you can be one of the first to know. Hit those notifications because I'm real excited about this specially curated playlist that you can't find anywhere else except right here at the Love Lab with Debrina on YouTube. So Vonnie, Elena, I just thank you all so much for this time, for this interview, for the questions, for the commentary. I just so appreciate you. Awesome. And I hope that we bless some folks.
Yes.
Yes.
I will say I had a little sneak peek, a little teaser trailer of the Love Lab Groove Lounge music, and it's amazing. So for those of you, remember, Brittany, give us a little teaser a little bit ago, and it is phenomenal. I'm so excited once you officially launch and release.
Wait, how did you get a teaser?
A couple weeks ago, I had the inside scoop. You were like, "Oh, we just finalized a couple things," and No. You and I were doing some work together, and you were like, "Oh, by the way, listen to this," and it is phenomenal. Okay. So for stay tuned, it's going to be dropping soon. So excited. We put the links in the chat in terms of milliondollarmentor.net/shop, getting the paperback book. There's so many ways to plug into Debrina Jackson Gandy, clearly here on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. She's on all live social media platforms. So please do follow. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We will be back. Rapid Fire is rapid, and we are coming back again, back by popular demand. We've been hearing from you all about questions and really getting a love expert in on the scoop and cutting through all the mess, all that stuff. So again, glad you all are blessed. I know you were. I certainly was, and I've been in several spaces with Debrina, and every single time I'm taking notes. I'm still taking notes.
Absolutely. I just want to end by saying what you want exists, and everybody else has a coach. The basketball team got a coach. The football team got a coach. If you want to excel in anything, especially in the love arena, you got to get among the wise and get coached. So dive into Debrina's work, and we'll see you all at our next Rapid Fire.
All right.
Have a good night. So Elena, I want to be sure I save this. Do I exit out and then download it?
It should already prompt to be saved once you close it. So right, Ronnie, that's when you close it down, it will say it will start to like percolate, saying to save and close. Then you can add us as collaborators.
Yes.
Okay. I want to get it right this
before.
time.
We can do
all right. Thank you all. Bye, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Good night.